life. We're going to talk about just different topics real briefly because I do have things to do today. Whew. So, who wrote this Bible? Who wrote this Bible? What is it? Because, in a certain sense, y'all demonize channeling, but, one second. You demonize channeling, but that is a series of channeled stories, okay, from different authors. And some of it is even past information like emerald tablets, right? Dead Sea Scroll, a composition of all these different literatures and then put together. Prophecy is prophecy, but just like like Yahusha said, a lot of prophecies can only be fulfilled based on the decision of the creator. Now, I don't know who you choose to call the creator. I know for a fact from my studies, now I have to obviously probably go to the land itself, but you need to understand Yahweh was a deity, just like a lot of these deities. In the beginning, there were gods, plural. Elohim is angelic council of 200, which is higher level souls. In this life that we call mastery, Christ was an avatar, ascended master. He said many came before him, many will come after him. Please decode what is said and go with the truth, because there's so many lies, so much deception that they have, of course, flipped, reversed, took out, added on, this, that, this. Now, the Bible is holy. The Bible is powerful. It's supernatural. But remember, because it was written in medieval ages, everything was based on also spell, casting, things like that. So if you understand, for people who understand, there's light and dark in everything. There's light and dark, which is part of the law of the universe. What I started to see that every religion covered the principle or the law of the universe. There are 12 laws. There are 12 planets. There are 12, there's like a numerical, but we have not gone past that reality because we have not explored it. So when the reality beyond even the universe itself, which means you are not also limited by the astral realm. When you ascend, you go past the astral, which means not even astrology, not even these planets, not even these energies can control or manipulate or speak. Yahusha was a sovereign. He is not binded by any concepts. Let's just cut it all out. You feel me? Let's cut it all out. Because, I guess I'm the teacher, right? I need to accept that. Whether other people accept that's their problem, not mine. But unfortunately, we was all lied to. Israel just means the balance of masculine and feminine principle, which is also a law of gender, which means unifying the two energies into oneness concept. The law of oneness is God, because we are unity consciousness. So when we all put our little spirits and souls together, we actually make up part of God, okay, as an essence. But the most high source, the atom, is not limited by a person, place, or thing, object, planet. In a certain sense, if you're worshiping Sabbath, which is Saturday, that is Saturnia. Yeah. So you gotta be careful here because they flipped shit. They try to put Lucifer as Jesus, Yahusha, even though they could be twins, like there was always the twin concept of good and bad twin. Oh, that's getting a little too deep for you, because I mean, based on me being a twin flame and understanding how this shit goes, and understanding that the new age was the old age, which was the original information, and then they have also mocked and distorted that information. So everything got distorted. The only reason why we say they cannot distort this, but it's not based on religions, but Christianity. You need to know the difference between the martyrs, the movement of Christians, the movement, which means the followers of Christ, the people who for real sacrificed and died for this, which makes them holy, versus the religion that Constantine placed because he had converted to Christianity. Y'all not giving people a chance to change, because even when they try to make these changes, you still want to question them if they're authentic or not. I guess, like Christ said, you will know me by my fruits, not my words. We could sit here and say anything we want to say, but he said it's not the scribes, which is the very people who also wrote the Bible, scribes. It's not about these hypocrites, man, or these Pharisees. The law is the law, but when Christ came, he basically said, F the law, okay? That's kind of, I hate to break it like that. He said, your law don't bind me, but he said, I follow it in my heart because I love my Father that much, that I am subservient and obedient to this automatically because of my love for God. When especially when you see that you benefit from it. I mean, but you are not binded by the law because of Christ. Christ was a high priest of the order of Melchizedek. He was an alchemist. He was an alchemist. He was able to transmute things. He was able to manifest things. He was able to heal people. He was able to resurrect from the dead. This is the initiation process that most people on the spiritual path, and I don't care who you are, but there's degrees and there's levels to everything. Christo means cosmic awareness, which means you are now going beyond the limitation. You now have understanding over such above all. And yes, you're a sovereign free being. So the fact that people sit here and restrict you, people sit here and try to make you feel some type of way, I don't need nobody to tell me what is sinful. Your conscience should already automatically point that out when you don't feel so good doing something. And that, like they say, God, the Spirit will put conviction in you. But he said he could also harden your heart and blind your eyes and get you to not understand or see. And you shall perish for your lack knowledge because you do not see. Prophets are prophets, saints are saints. But, like guides are guides, angels are angels, demis are demis. Like, there's levels to this shit, but I'm gonna tell you right now, we all work together towards the common goal of conscious unity, which is unity. But just like you have low frequency, you got high vibration and high frequency. You got positive and negative. It took positive and negative to make this earth. This is why Christ said, be balanced in your duality, good and bad. As sly as a snake, as innocent as a dove. You know why? I will judge you by your own. Let's simplify this shit for you. I will judge you by your heart intention. It's not what you're doing that makes you unclean spirit. It's what come out of you that make you unclean, which means if your heart intention is to murder, is to covet, is to be adulterous, you don't give a damn. When the principle of the prophet is to love your brother as yourself. Even Jesus said your enemies. You know how hard that is? Why? Because you don't want to get caught up in karma. Okay, then. But not everybody here is the same, dog. And what I'm trying to say come from same sources, okay? And you need to understand that, just like you have children of nature, children of, sun, children of the stars, children of the underworld, children, but I'm gonna tell you right now, technically they all supposed to work in oneness, in accordance, in balance of the fulfillment of the design. So, I'm gonna dismiss all the rumors and the allegations, because knowledge is power. They didn't want you to know that Christ had Upanishad Avatar Babaji as his teacher, who taught him meditation. He was hanging out in the mountains with the Buddhists. He was hanging out, like you say, Japan. You had Reiki. Why? Because he was putting his hands on people, giving them energy work. He was a light worker. He said, I'm the morning star. I'm the star. He was a star seed. But back then, that terminology, they were called Essenes, people of the light. There was a whole bunch of them living in the desert making bread, manna. Okay? So listen to me, man. It's not a game, dog. It's not a game. Like, these people led people astray. People fucked up in the head now. And I understand that because I was there, and then especially if you have a past life and these things, where you were binded to oaths or certain things that divide you. The Cristo is the Merkaba. It's the Trinity within self and with others. And that's the 369. I mean, even when you look at the schism, because the universe has a pattern of how it constructs, like a builder thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like a a buzzing bee, queen bee, and then she has the whole honeycomb scheme. It's like, you look at that because nature kind of shows you already what it's about. So in a certain sense, people didn't worship nature. They were reminded by it, and they were influenced by it, and they also paid attention, because God as well worked through nature, but God can only work to what is pure and holy, and you know what I'm saying, automatic. When you have, in this case, sinned, that's a level of you not learning lessons. If this is school, you here in school. For these devils, it's a playground. But for most people, this is school. This is like, what I'm saying, you either come in here to learn or you're not. You either gonna do what you said you had agreed in your soul contract. When it comes down to, I'm coming here to do what? And the whole point of this journey is you trying to remember that shit. Remember who you really are. Remember, through all the deception. They sit here and say, well, psychics are evil and this is bitch. If you're born with gifts, why are you going to demonize me like the church always has? Demonize people for having certain gifts and talents and abilities that, of course, God gave them. And they play a role in the spectrum, dog, as the body of Christ. Because you don't look at it like that. But these are things that we all possess because it's the way God made us. So in a certain sense, it's the way you're using them. That's what's sinful, the how you're using these things and for what purpose and how. But see, when you all knowing shit, you know what it is. Like, you put yourself in a mind state of being and consciousness, you just automatically know. All this shit is just noise. It's designed to deceive, and it's designed to confuse, and it's designed to get you to not know thyself. Because I knew the path when I was in that Oracle of Delphi, laying in the temple as a baby, as the Pytha, as an oracle. Know thyself, bruh. Why? Because if not, somebody else gonna tell you about yourself, and most of the time they gonna lie on your character, boo, and you gonna sit here and believe the lie, thus becoming, and that's how they control you. This is why you don't even listen to me, man. Don't listen to nobody. You must know thyself, dog, and you must walk in your truth. Because all this persecution of this is this, this is that, man, shut up, dog. You came here as a spiritual being having this human experience. You is a sub-creator. When he said out you was made in the image, like, pay attention, dog. It's common sense. You was made in the image of the creator, dog. So that means you have the ability to manifest, dog. But it has to be towards the common goal, which is unity. That's why it's God's will. You have to put yourself in the mind state of God to know what God even wants for this design. But most people do these things out of selfishness, which is the internal work, which is what the devil, what Lucifer introduced people to do, right? Through the enlightenment process. This is why he can mask himself as enlightenment. He can mask himself as the light, but he cannot fulfill the standard of it, man. He can't embody that shit. He's a mockery. He called himself the morning star, knowing damn well you lost your divinity. You lost the light within you. But there's many cultures, many religions, many things. The thing is, they had divided everything. So divide to conquer. This is how they're able to conquer you mentally now and use you. I'm talking about if you were to unify, you really start to see there's no difference between any of these things, including the stories that they tell you have the same concept, because you had the same Trinity concept stories in Egyptian culture and this culture and that culture. So, and this is before Christ, okay? We're talking about things before Christ, but Christ was a prophet that came to save the Jews. He was a helper, man. Just like all of them are helpers. We all stand in the light, except that demons mock it. So and this is where they say, well, certain things are unsafe. If you're not strong in the light, anything is unsafe, motherfucker. Jesus said you could take this plate of food of poison and transmute it and pray on it and change its disposition, change its actual energetical print and signature. But see, when people started getting into hermeticism and alchemy, they took it to the dark side. They weren't sticking in the light and understanding that, yes, you have to go through the fire. So either way, you got to go through hell to get to heaven. It's no roundabout way to go about it. Some people chose to go to it later, or some people choose to go it through now. But once you have gone through 360 degrees of knowledge, you are liberated, because these things no longer bind you. Now, the Bible went through too many hands. In the last page of Revelation, it told you that. It said you don't cursed yourself because you sat here and took out the word. You took out the relevant chapters. You sat there, Book of Enoch, things like that. They took out. That's why you have for you to go to the original, which they say is Ethiopia. We don't know where, but the original Bible. Come on, man. And again, everything is somewhat relevant. That's why you need to know your story, dog. You need to know your history, because you're bound to repeat a story that these Masons have created for you to sit here and keep repeating. So look, not a single person wrote the Bible. It is a collection of books written by many authors over centuries. So it wasn't in one timeline. This is why the mentality changes based on the timeline, based on the era. Things were very severe back then because of the things that was going on. I mean, it got to that point where you had to go down like that. Y'all was not in your nakedness enjoying the fruits and labors of the garden, because you messed that up, because you said, I want more. I want to do this. I'm God. I'm going to think, I'm going to change what God has already been created. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, They did not create the Bible or its a canon, but rather addressed controversies like Arianism, affirmed divinity of Yahusha through the Nicene Creed, and key figures like Constantine, who converted it, two bishops like Hosius of Cordova, even scholars like Jophesius. So influential in the creed involved. The idea that Nicaea chose the biblical books is a popular myth, often spread conspiracy. Of course, because everything to them is conspiracy. But they're the ones who made it. So what you at 325 AD, dog? Come on, man. You got to put all the puzzle pieces together to get the full story. You're just going to get half-assed truth. And then you're going to get confused and mind F yourself. And that's what exactly they want, because they cause you to divide oneself. They don't want you to know thyself. And this is why sometimes you got to go against the grain. But your heart got to remain pure. It's the heart that gets tainted by the evil to want to do these things. It's people in their heart that come to terms of saying, I want to kill somebody, I want to do this, I want to do that. You, no matter how you feel, which is your emotions, should not allow these things to affect your process, because they're natural, they're normal. God, you need to know the difference between your God-given instincts, the fact that these people have manipulated you through these things. Thus, control one's impulse. So if you're being puppeted, basically, you know what I'm saying? This is not people who even know thyself. People lack awareness of self and are not conscious. Guess what happens? They lack awareness. Guess what happens? They're going to be easily swayed by influences, no matter what they are. So we got the Emperor Constantine, who made Christianity a religion. But honey, Christianity was a movement. When we talk about the martyrs, why? Because I'm from Rome and I live there and I know. Listen to me. I know my city. I know my little history, okay? And what I do know is that when I used to go underground and watch all these tombs where they would bury them, feed them to the lions, burn them alive, I didn't understand this hatred towards these people who were just innocent lambs, dog, just because of their belief. They were being persecuted. And this is where they had to start going underground. This is where they had to start coding shit. This is where, you know what I mean? But when you think about it, and then you start to see how these systems used that to their advantage to try to stray people, like bring people in, because they saw the effect that it had. But these are spiritual revolutions, Now, don't get it twisted. Yeshua wasn't violent, but he used vocally righteous anger, which means he expressed himself through anger for justice against evil powers of religion and state, because he was against the state and he was against the religion powers. And that's why his own people hated him, because he knew Judaism better than the teachers. He knew the Torah better than anybody else. I mean, if you really gonna get you gotta follow Christ in his path and understand. And when you think about it, he come with the same concepts as a lot of these other deities that came. So they all come out of the same order of things, except these other people ain't the main deities, because he's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, which means he supersedes all these other ones. They all bow to him, which gives him rank in the hierarchy, because the world is ran by heavenly host, seraphim powers, principality, thrones. And this is a game that they battle on the mothership we call Mother Earth. We here to elevate the vibration of the planet, including of humanity. How you want to do it is how your expression of what the creator made, you to be. But a lot of people don't just understand that, and they get caught up in the politics of the story, knowing damn well that we need to stop repeating the story because we need to create a new story for ourselves. And that's the trap of the reincarnation. So you're being binded by archons through stories and shit, dog. And that's why Paul was like, look, I don't care how you look at it. You trying to make it seem like there's differences amongst us when it's the same shit, except it's expressed differently, based on the wording or whatever, the interpretations, the languages. But it is what it is. Like, love is love, dog. Like, I learned that you have to simplify life. Because the more you identify with labels and titles and things and structures and the more you attach yourself to the energy of it, and thus you do more of the same. Now, the Bible's dangerous because it's but when you read it, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense what it's saying. Now, when it comes to certain stories and things that you choose to embody and adapt and relive, that's a personal choice. We put ourselves in people's shoes for real to see, what it's like. But then you can't blame if you sitting here reliving the story as is. That means you're not creating your own original story, because you ain't come here to be sheeple the same. You came here to be original as the black sheep. You're the one that sticks out because you always went against conformity. And again, they demonize rebellion because they don't want you to free yourself. And that's just the point. So, they don't want you to use alchemy because then you would be using it towards the good of removing them. Remove them. You know what I'm saying? Remove their power play position. So, did the elites influence this information so they can control people? I'm sure they did. And that's another aspect or thing I need to see about this, because now it makes me question everything. The validity of stuff. But the only way you really gonna know something is by experiencing it and knowing it's true. You know what I mean? And you won't really know based on what somebody tells you. You have to experience it for yourself. And that's the only truth that really, to me, matters, is my own personal experience when it comes down to what, I know is possible. But in this realm, anything is possible. That's why you gotta be careful. I think when people started engaging in certain information that was none of their business, in a certain sense, that's where they messed up at. And then they created issues for themselves. But that's why I said Enoch is relevant, just like Paul is relevant, and Isaac. And these are the main end times, things you should focus more on, things that are relevant towards your right now. When it comes to the Old Testament, it's not that I'm abolishing it at all, because you're going to see how it repeats itself. But what I'm trying to say is, you cannot put New Testament and Old Testament in the same book. They contradict. It's literally everything's a contradiction. So you become this contradiction. You become double-minded. You become confused, which is a trickery. These things are good because they're relevant. You get to look back at it so you don't repeat it. But if you're bound to repeat the shit, then what the hell is the point? Why are you even, you know what I'm saying? You're not learning. If this ain't helping you change, then the next thing, that's just why I said the concept where people go in the darkness, get their ass kicked into submission, you know what I mean? It's a process. And you eventually go through purity. but it's going to be out of free will choice, not that you're being forced or out of fear. Fear is the devil, false evidence appearing to be real, and that including your projections. So you're a manifester that you project your own doomery and don't even know it because you co-sign it. You reaffirm it. Instead of being the actual co-creator with God in the universe towards the design of the bigger principle. This ain't got shit to do with, as much as, the selfishness of what you want. Because you got to make, in this life, you got to make sacrifice. However you look at it. When you look at labor, even if it's me toiling the land and being a farmer working for myself, that's still labor, dog. Everything is required, like the law of correspondence. Everything that you put in is what you get. Just like karma, you reap what you sow, dog. A lot of people don't understand that they reaping from past life karma from all the shit they did, dog, and they're being punished for it. And that's still, you're not learning from that shit. You're not evolving from that shit. That shit ain't teaching you to fuck do better. I don't care if it's Bible, this self-help book, this. It's the same principle. The problem is everything got, lost its sense of purity, thus power. So when you wreck something, it no longer has substance. The only thing they weren't really able, because it was sealed by the blood. That book is sealed. It has a covenant. But God gave you 8 covenants, and he also said you was going to write a new covenant. So this is what y'all don't understand. There's going to be a new covenant, which is the reaffirming of our connection to the Most High, and then how we celebrate that ritualistic, in life. Because the ancients would wake up and just honor and respect, you know what I'm saying? And just watch and understand. They weren't going against that. And when you go against the flow, you only doing it to yourself. So Council of Nicaea, get into that. Constantine, do your own research, because I'm sick of it. And try to question your sources, where you get your info. You know what I'm saying? And it starts to all make sense. But, if they're saying people like Rockefeller influenced the Bible, like they influenced school and education, I mean, I would question every fucking thing that they sit here and give you. Because everything is like skeptic. Everything is like something that, what are they doing with this shit? And it doesn't mean that, no, these things can't be true. And that's the deception, is that they want you to just say, F the information that's going to help you, knowing damn well, they mixed it all up. Truth and lies put together. And that's where people then question the validity of something. But if you're going to take out books, I'm going to question you. Like, why? You sat here and rewrote it, and then you don't even understand when you read the last page of Revelation, it told you this? So, we got to focus on, like, simplifying and just going with what's important, because, it's easy to get lost in this process. But the Christianity that, from what I know, what I've experienced through the soul, through the spirit, through the vibes that I lived amongst it just, there was like levels, because you need to know the story, and most people don't have the correct story. Of course, they did that on purpose. So you won't know the truth until you put yourself in them shoes and see everybody's perspective, and then all seeing eye, baby. You see it all. You see it for what it is. You see it for what it is. And then at that point, can you even be mad? Israel came from Isis, Ra, and El, which is the three deities in one. The Trinity. 333. The three. So Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, Shekinah, is a female. Mother, Father, Son, Trinity. That's the design of God. Okay, Trinity. within oneself and within unity of others. Trinity. And a lot of people get, like, real wisdom is a her, it's a Sophia. It wasn't the church. How many people did that church kill to enforce this information? And that contradicts basically what they're preaching. So that's hypocritical to me. Because you don't need these things to just know you have to have a good heart and be good to people. That's just fucking common sense. And if you don't feel, you just don't feel, man. You just ain't got it in you, dog. And that's what it is, and you end up in the level that you at. But nobody sends you there but yourself, because that the dimension that you thus inherit as a result of this afterlife is based on you. Okay? It's not that, ooh, you're being punished, you're going to hell, this and this. But you're not going to tell me that hell don't exist, because it is a dimension. Even if it's the lowest. It's still part of the heaven, even though it's the lowest. And y'all just don't like to see it that way. Bible, basic instructions. Basic, yo. Before leaving this earth. That's what it stands for. Basic instructions before leaving the earth. Y'all are sitting here going to war over this. I don't think it was written for that purpose. And you need to understand what's a fable, what's a legend, what's just a story, versus taking it to where you're embodying these things now and you're not living authentically through your own experience. And that's the problem. And this is my mystery, is my story. Which you know what I'm saying? Everything that you are being suppressed by was a slavery, draconian, demonic structure. You can demonize the pyramid, you can demonize this, these things have existed since beginning of time. Nothing new under the sun, because you keep repeating it. Paul said, you binded the principality. You gotta ascend. Why would ascension information be dangerous if it's not to free you? Oh, it's dangerous for these powers that no longer will be able to use you or grip you through the masquerading of even, yes, religion, because they're not using religion correctly. Okay? These people have information and they sit here, and because they know what they know, they can sit here and manipulate people and use it for their favor. And understand the manipulation is real, boo. No, I'm not saying disregard it or hate the Bible, not at all. But I noticed that when you do, for people who want to manifest their life, it's going to be hard, because, like you said, they don't want you to create your reality. For some of us, we was called for a position. We have a specific mission we agreed to. So it's not so much about what we want. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Even though we have the ability to say, hey, I can create my dreams, right? Make my dreams a reality. God put them dreams in me for a reason. Why would that be evil? Why would you demonize things that were of the light? You see? This is why I said it lost its purity. Things lose substance, just like salt. You have to almost, it becomes bland. And just like us, we become bland. But you're not going to consider that this evolution of your technology and science isn't evil. You going to sit here and try to rationalize shit, dog. Knowing that the shit, they trying to replace us with fucking transhumanism. That's evil, dog. You doing clonation is evil. Like, I don't care, you know what I'm saying? You want to be gay, you want to love somebody, okay. It ain't up to me to decide, dog. That's between you and God. You see? But if you out here doing good to people, you're not hurting nobody, you're not engaging in low vibrational lust, either way, It's not up to me to decide how somebody lives their life, dog. As long as they're not hurting no kids or, you know what I'm saying, affecting people, it's not up to me to decide, dog. But see, when you judge people, you gonna be judged. When the real judicator come, you ain't gonna be ready for it. To accept that. No, Christ ain't binded to the law, so Christ can drink a glass of wine and not go to hell for it, dog. Without you trying to demonize somebody. You get it? Damn, you want to knock people that smoke weed? Oh, they're evil. The bitch, people that smoke weed, what is the worst thing they do? Kill their fridge? Please. Munchies? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm sick of it, dog. Everybody got a fuck opinion. You making me feel like, you know what I'm saying? I sat here and I walked through all paths. I was a sinner. I was a saint. I was an angel. I was a devil. I was everything. You see? I experienced it all. I have to master this plane. Why? Because when you have had enough, like 9 lives, bitch, and then you got to sit here and now become this either a guardian or you got to move up in the ladder, the levels. Your task changes. Your task changes based on what your position is in this hierarchy. So if you're not an angel, dog, like, get out of angelic codes. It's not for you, motherfucker. It's not your information. And I believe that's what made y'all fall too, because you could say the angels were introducing this information, but a lot of motherfuckers was curious and they went looking for that information when they didn't even understand it or have nothing to do with it unless they come from that. So Enochian angelic information wasn't for human consumption. Okay? Angelic business isn't human business. Y'all so curious that y'all did it to yourselves. You brought that devil in, you got to deal with his ass. It's just, and now there's an agreement because, like I said, towards evolution is the transmutation of these devils. You know what I'm saying? And that depends on each individual. That's an individual case status. That ain't got shit to do with, you know what I'm saying? But as an influence, you being influenced as a whole. Yes, of course. But what you do reflects and affects the next. So it's very important that you stay aware and stay conscious and be woke, not in the sense of how they're promoting it because they're mocking it. They're mocking wokeism. But you, like a light you turn on because you are a pillar of light and you only need to wake up to your potential. And then based on what you do with these things is what you're being judged on, because there's nothing wrong with activating and accessing these things. It's your birthright, just like the tree of life. So they can sit there and say, well, we gonna demonize Kabbalah. No, we talking about the Talmud ain't got nothing to do with the Torah. You see, like the dark ain't got nothing to do with the light, dog. But the light ain't limited to a topic or a subject or a jurisdiction, because there's many levels and layers to the shit, to the design and the construct, as well as the heavenly host of, and also underworld. Underworld has its own system as well. So you basing everything on the keys of Solomon, which, by the way, Solomon did not have wisdom if he's gonna sit here and not even know what God he worshiping false idols and allowing a Jezebel spirit to tear his ass up. You a weak motherfucker. You ate the apple, bitch, and you're dumb. You were led astray. That's about it. But you gave your birthright away, dog, and that's why would it be sinful to take your fucking birthright back, bitch, from somebody who stole it from you? These snakes fucking steal, kill, and take. Don't forget that shit, dog. But they playing in your fucking face, talking about be docile against my evil. Nah, that's not what Christ say. If you're going to listen to what Christ say. Forget all the other voices, dog. Because at this point in the game, you don't even read the word enough to know what it says. Y'all sitting here having debates over information that you have not even crossed. So who the hell are you to even say? There's parts in the Bible where Christ was missing. And that means he was traveling the world and learning information because he was a seeker of knowledge. So a lot of us, when we came into the plane, we chose wisdom over such. We didn't care about the worldly ways, dog. And we still maintained our individuality of who we were, dog. We didn't allow these things to change us. But when you expand and you grow in your own self, that's when you get closer to the magnetism of God. They don't want you to be in your greatness, but being in your greatness in an amplificative state is not always good if you're not in the right mind state. If your heart ain't right, man. Mind, body, and soul, bro, everything connected, even your organs. But they're individual and they have a mind of their own, but shit, they all connected. Same fuck concept. And y'all gotta go back to the simple days, man, where we used to pay attention. Nature has laws, just like universe has laws. God is the law of the order of how everything works. But as creations, y'all sat here and worshipped every aspect of it instead of just going direct to the source. The first religion, by the way, was Upanishads. And if I'm going to really go back to any religion, I'm going to go back to the simple. I'm going to go back to the original shit. Christianity came from another version of Zoroastrianism. Like, everything is a recondensation of something. Just like, Muslim and Christianity are similar. And you got Buddhism. Buddhism deals with the Book of the Dead and the karmic laws and the underworld. You know what I'm saying? This is why it only, in your path of enlightenment, it limits you. It only keeps you at that level. It's like a bridge. This bridges to this. But, when you think about it, these were all creations that y'all made. So we got to go back to when would Jesus say basics, detach from the world and its politics. Focus on the kingdom of God, right? Focus on doing good while you're here, changing your ways. Like, just do the basic things, It's not up to me to tell you what your process is. You know what I mean? That's between you and God. My thing is just plant that seed, like, get you closer, you know what I mean? Remind you, like, but as far as like telling people how to live, dog, that should be a no-no. Why? Because you have free will, dog. That breaks free will. And God gave you free will. This is why he'll let you mess up, because you have to learn. This is your process. It's good. It's not good or bad. It's up to you. You're the one that thinks it's good and bad. You're the one to perceive something to be good or bad. And thus, that's what it is, dog. But it's not. Nothing that people do is good or bad, dog. It does. When you go to the next level of your existence, none of this shit fuck matters, dog. It only matters in what it has contributed towards your own bondage. If you want to be a slave, yeah, like it doesn't take. Every religion speaks of the same. The bondage to the flesh is the enslavement. You cannot be a spiritual being and think you're going to be materialistic and the two go together. No, they don't. Even though there's this battle, but even though there's war amongst flesh and spirit, is there a way where we could make peace? Like the way we can make peace between men and women, the way we can make peace amongst all these different colors, which were all rainbow. Like, I got a bunch of nationalities in me, dog. It's like, you a mutt. What you gonna do? Be at war with yourself? Fuck that. That's what they want. That's what they want. And you can't give them what these people want. So question information, especially if they're sitting here giving it to you. And before they started tampering, especially with the stupid internet shit, the to me, the knowledge was just way more relevant when it was in a book. You know what I'm saying? But then again, the knowledge that's really relevant is your experience. That's what counts. Nobody can tell you about you better than you, dog. Nobody can tell you if something's real or fake based on what you know to be true. That ain't got nothing to do with all these other people's fuck opinions, dog. They all got one. So you basically took on somebody else's opinion of the truth and made it your own truth. And that's false. This is why you need to wake up to your truth. And like you say, don't follow nobody. Follow, you know what I'm saying? What you know. But if you need guidance, there's plenty of it, dog. It's just up to you where you choose to get your help from, you know? But you have to come to conclusion if Christ is your savior, dog. You know what I mean? I'm the bride because I always felt like I was married to Christ. That me myself was a Christ, a crystal. That me is a star seed. You know what I mean? So I come from that school of thought. But I'm an individual and I come as my own expression. Even though we all coming in this divine feminine, divine masculine principle. This is about reawakening and remembering your own divinity, dog. Why would that be demonized? Unless you're using it for the wrong, the wrong reasons, hurting people. Again, common sense, y'all. Common sense. Most people don't have any, so you get tired of that shit too, dog. Having to explain to people that, like, look, who said what? What is what? How the hell does that affect your life? Why would it matter? You know what I'm saying? And if it does matter, then be true. All I can say is be true to yourself, because when they asked what was God's name, he said, I am all that I am in Hebrew. I'm everything. So why are you limiting me through a religion and through a personality or through this or through a character? Like, he said, I brought all these characters. What you mean? He said, I created every creature, even Levithian. I created every creature in good and in the abyss. Like, he created all this. Everything is a creation, dog. You see? And what can corrupt that person is corrupting the heart. That's what makes something evil. When people compromise their integrity, their morals, their values to sell themselves out for something that they can't even take with them. Something that has no use, no purpose. This is why we focus on the fruits of the Spirit, you know? And your expression is your own. You can't demonize people because of their own self-expression, because you don't like the way they're presenting it. But the word, it doesn't matter in what language, it's the same word. Now, based on the translation of losing it or perpetrating the translation, this is where I say, God protect knowledge. Everything's coded. This is why nothing as it seems, yo. Nothing is as it seems. Remember that you need discernment when you think you're going to go into this camp and want to sit there and figure it out. You need discernment, dog. Because you'll sit there and mind deaf yourself. That's fun, ain't it? Yeah. To the point where you go crazy and shit. That's fun too. I've reached all them levels. I had to master the plane, dog. They don't call us ascended masters for nothing, dog. We had to master the plane. But just because we simple or we rugged, I'm hippie-ish, I got dirty feet because I work in the yard. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always cooking. I might have stains on my ripped clothes. Like, you judge me because of how I look. You judging me by my looks. Christ purposely, a lot of these spiritual teachers were born into riches or this, and they gave their life away, dog. Christ purposely was born into poverty to prove that his divinity is not tied to the material. These things have no correlation, dog. And you don't have to be this to be great. You see what I'm saying? He tried to show you, but he said, yo, do what I did. He didn't say, he never even told you to worship him, dog. He's like your brother sitting at the table breaking bread with you, having a conversation. Yes, but this whole sense of idolatry, dog, whether it's of yourself or of something else. Come on. That's when you are grateful for God's creation, for the things that God gives us, that's automatic. We give thanks. We appreciative of the bountiness of the goodness. But when it comes down, I'm even appreciative for the negative because it made me. It made me who I am, dog. I can't go back on that. And that's acceptance, baby. When you can accept yourself as, you unify these aspects. You're no longer separate into the concept of duality. And that's what it means to integrate in a certain sense. When we took it on a metaphysical level, integrating your energies, your dark and your light, to get into the light, and transmute. But didn't you know you had to go through the dark to even activate and access the light in order to even know the difference? So is it wrong? How you gonna tell me it's illegal to access my inner knowledge, dog? That's why I said everything is a deception, and I'm sick of it. It's ugly. I hope people see the truth before it's too late. You know what I mean? And yeah, it ain't up to me to decide, dog, because I had to sit here and seek it. Ask, you shall receive. Seek it. I had to seek this knowledge. I had to pay for this knowledge with my life, dog. This is not a game. So when y'all talking about Masons, you fucking keys of Solomon shit, what makes you think you even have the correct fucking information? What makes you think that these devils even gave you the correct story or information, code, key, anything? You see? That's your fuck opinion. And somebody's opinion does not make it a fact, dog. And that's just facts. Facts is something that you know to be true. It's, but his experience is different than her experience, dog. And that's why you can compare all you freaking want. You can't compare to my life because my life is my own. And then the only one that it really matters to is my creator, the one who made me. So people don't like it, they feel some type of way. That's not my problem, you see? Now, let's just do a quick, I pray. Blessed be the name of the Lord that we use in vain. For this is why we not